3 unusual signs that you have poor boundaries. 1 is that you are exhausted. So why is that an example of poor boundaries? Because what happens is when you don't have the ability to say no, when you aren't able to feel when you're agreeing to something that is a no for you, or you know that you're doing it, but you don't have enough strength of voice to say anything, to do anything about it, you will be in moments, of course, giving what you don't have to give, but you will also be doing it in micro moments, kind of constantly, really. And what happens is then, as you zoom out over that week, over the month, over that year, those years maybe that you've been in big and small ways overgiving, saying yes to something that is really a no for you, is you're going to be drained. Your tank is going to be empty because you're giving from an empty cup. So constant sort of low level or maybe profound exhaustion is a massive clue to somebody having poor boundaries. The second one is having perhaps a low level but constant grumpiness or short-temperedness, resentment. It might not even be that you are actually walking around all day grumpy. You may well have a huge smile on your face, be perfectly pleasant to everybody, usually people who aren't that close to you. I don't know if this sounds familiar to any of you, at work or with friends. Perfectly nice, pleasant, happy. They'll describe you as being very joyful, but at home, maybe husband, kids get a different version. That's fairly common. That may or may not resonate with you. But nonetheless, below the surface, perhaps, there is anger. And if you're like many of the women that we work with, that includes and involves not being able to access that anger. Like it's there, but you never let yourself feel it. Maybe you were raised in such a way that you weren't allowed to be angry. You had to be nice all the time. And now as an adult, lo and behold, you struggle to feel that anger, but there it is nonetheless. So why is this a symptom of having weak boundaries? Again, it's because resentment is the inevitable outcome of saying yes to something that's a no. It is the inevitable consequence of self-abandonment, of feeling like you are giving what you do not have to give. And it will make anybody not just, like, number one, exhausted, but number two, on some level, and again, it might be right there on the surface, or it might be pushed down, but there it is that anger. And the third unusual symptom of poor boundaries is feeling invisible, feeling very small, feeling like nobody sees you, feeling like you're unimportant to other people. And why is that? Is because when you have poor boundaries, you are playing small. You aren't showing up fully. So you're not giving all of yourself to be seen. So lo and behold, you will feel unseen. And here's the important thing to know about this piece is that the flip side of every boundary is a desire. So the other side of every no is something that is a yes. For everything that you don't want, for everything that you are saying no to, by default, it means that there is something that you do want. There is something that you do desire. And so people who struggle with boundaries also struggle to know what they want, be honest with themselves about the truth in their heart, about what their heart is yearning for. And so this is big, deep life desires, and even sometimes, what do you want where do you want to go eat tonight? I don't know, right? What would you like to do this weekend? You know? So the flip side of all of these no's is something that you want. So people who struggle with boundaries will struggle to know what their desires are, to be honest with themselves about what those desires are, and of course, sharing therefore those desires with others. Because to share your boundary is to share a desire, directly or indirectly. To share a desire is to share a boundary, one way or another, directly or indirectly. So these two things go hand in hand, and when you aren't in connection with the truth in your heart about what you want, that's when you start to feel small, because you are playing small, and people won't see you, because the truth is you're not giving them all of you for them to see, right? And what we find with many of the women that we work with is, honestly, it's scary to connect to their desire. It's scary to get real about what do they want, because on some level they feel like it's not possible. They feel like that can happen for some people but not for them, right? Or they feel like, well, and this may be a conscious or unconscious thought, that they are not worthy of having that thing. So to connect to it, to connect to that desire, is scary and painful, because what comes with it is also this belief that that's never going to happen for them. And this is why when we help women with learning to speak their truth, finding their voice, sharing boundaries without guilt and without having to pander to what the other person may or may not like to hear, an important part of that work is connecting women to their desire and teaching them how to connect to it safely and without triggering themselves into smallness once again. So looking at overgiving, creating exhaustion in your nervous system, developing a healthy, safe relationship with one's anger and with desires is exactly what Beth and I are going to be doing in Boldly Boundaried. If you don't know about it, look down in the description of this or the comments below and click the link for more info.